Vols fans? How we doing? Welcome back to another episode from the What's Nation, also known as the What's Up Tennessee Sports Nation. And for today, we're going to be talking about Nico Iamaleava because he left Tennessee to basically seek more money, and now he has signed with his new team, UCLA. That's where he's transferred to. But before we get started, as people are starting to enter the chat, let me go ahead and insert the plug. If you're not following me on all platforms, I'm talking YouTube, TikTok, X, and look, I even opened up on Facebook and Instagram because we don't know what's going on with TikTok, right? Daddy Trump saved it once. Who knows if it's gonna happen again? But just make sure you follow me on all platforms because we never know how these platforms are going to be, if they're going to be here today or tomorrow. Everybody gets offended by everything, and so these platforms have to come and go. So make sure you follow me on multiple platforms if you're following me on here, especially if you're on TikTok, because we never know if TikTok is staying around. But let's go ahead and dive into things. Nico Iamaleava, that's his new name right there. He ended up wanting more money from Tennessee. That's what the story came out, right? Playoffs rolled around. He was thinking about not even playing the playoffs. He wanted to renegotiate his deal, play more. He's playing more games, wants more money, right? He was saying the games don't equal the money, right? Because we made the playoffs. We had a good season. So he wanted more, potentially hold out. But then the season ended, and he's seeing what other players are getting around college football, correct? He sees what they're getting over in Miami, 10 million, all this other stuff. So he's like, hey, I'm only getting two. Let's go double it, make it four. Heupel, the head coach, was like, nah, brother, we're not doing that. You're crazy. This is crazy talk. You hold out, you're not a Tennessee ball. We're not paying you all this crazy money. So they went ahead, let the man go. They said, you're no longer on this team. Now he's out there shopping for teams. It took a while, right? Remember, he couldn't pick a team that was in the SEC. He had to go elsewhere. And there was rumors always going back to California, right? That's where he's from. And I wouldn't doubt a California team would sign him, right? California, they're down to do anything. So they ended up signing him over at UCLA. So that's where he's going to be now, which apparently he's getting less money. That's what they're saying. Where Tennessee, he was getting $2 million a year. Remember, Tennessee is a tax-free state. State tax, no state taxes in Tennessee. Then he goes over to California. Now he's going to get taxed out the wazoo. And I think before taxes, all his NIL stuff's like 1.75. He's hearing 1.75. It seems to be right around where everybody's coming out and saying. I heard some as low as like 1.5. I think it's 1.75 a year before any of the state taxes. And you see once all their little taxes go through and everything, it's around 900K he's getting, which is still plenty of money. I mean, for us everyday folks, right? 900K is a year, still a lot of money, but not nearly what he was getting in Tennessee or what he was actually asking for. So, for Tennessee, though, we see, look, he threw for 2,600 yards, 19 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. So not a bad year, but definitely not like the Hendon Hooker year or anything like that under this Heupel offense. I mean, he's better than what's his name, Milrow from last year, who didn't, or Milton, Joe Milton. He didn't play that well for us, but Nico, once again, he's overthrowing everybody. I mean, you've seen, the low tapes of him overthrowing his receivers and everything like that. Then he had the audacity to want more money, right? He has this, really his father is over there making all these trying to make these negotiations happen for him, which isn't happening. But then they came out later and they were like, oh, after he signed with UCLA, they came out and said it was never about the money because he got less. So they're like, it was never about the money. It's now about Tennessee, their offense, right? Their offense doesn't fit Nico's play style, and it's not as productive. And the offensive line play, they wanted it to be the offensive line to be upgraded and stuff because he's concerned about Nico's health. But when you look at where he's going, UCLA compared to Tennessee, I mean, it's a big difference, right? Tennessee right here for total offensive yards, right? This is running, passing, everything. So Tennessee was 15th in the league right here, 15th in the league with almost 5,800 passing yards or total yards. Where UCLA, they're bottom of the NCAA. So whenever you look at UCLA, they're right here at 118th they're way far down the list. I mean, that's a huge jump. I mean, that's 100 spots down, over 100 spots down on the list for total offense. Now, we did run the ball a lot, and you'll see that when we get into the passing yards over here, because when it comes strictly to passing yards, Tennessee, we're at 77 for last year, ranked 77th in the NCAA, which is, pretty far down there. Like we're over the halfway point, down the league with only 2,875. But that's with Nico running this offense. You know how many big plays we could have got if Nico could have just hit some of them deep receivers running those streak routes down the field, but instead he just kept overthrowing them. Then but if you look at UCLA, they're at 47th though, so they did have a better passing offense. They did get more passing yards, 2,906. But now I know they have a new guy calling plays over there. He's a first-time play caller at UCLA, so we'll see how he does this year. And his offense is going to be as productive. I mean, they don't nearly run as many plays as Tennessee. Tennessee got that fast-paced offense. Then if you look at sacks, right, you're talking about the offensive line, and he's worried about his son getting beat up and stuff. But Tennessee, even though we run more plays than them, I mean, we can look over here. Tennessee, we ran 958 plays, where UCLA, where are they at? I just lost. UCLA ran 736. So we ran quite a bit more plays than them, right? But we allowed 30 sacks this last season. 30 sacks, which was ranked 86, tied for 86 in the NCAA, where UCLA allowed 34 sacks, only 4 more sacks, right? They're ranked 112, but we did way more plays. So, we're back there running way more offensive plays than they are, but they are getting sacked more than we. So even though he said it was about the offense and not about the money, that's what the father came out and said. Yeah, you gotta believe he's full of malarkey here. He's trying to backtrack, not make his son look as bad, because right now Nico's got this bad image over his head. No matter, for the rest of his career, if he transfers again or if he goes to the NFL, he's gonna have that stigma behind him, right? He's all about the money, not about the team. And he's never gonna live up to the hype of how Hendon Hooker was for us. Hendon Hooker, he was out there. He was a dog, right? And I hope Hendon Hooker gets his chance in the NFL. Meanwhile, we no longer have Nico, right? We had the spring game that happened a couple days ago. Well, we got Merklinger and McIntyre out there, where Merklinger is now a redshirted freshman, so we get to see him. He's had a time to sit behind Nico. He'll be able to come into and run this offense, and McIntyre will be behind him unless they're going to start a true freshman. But we do have the transfer portal open up. It's going to be open soon to where we can look at players and see who we're going to get. Maybe we'll bring in a guy with a little bit more experience, but if not, we're running with a Merklinger back there at QB. But this is going to do it for today's episode. But don't forget to like and subscribe to the What's Nation. And as always, let's go Vols, baby.